Renee Garcia. Welcome to In the Naad. Such a pleasure to have you here today.
So happy to be here. I can't
You have
wait to.
no idea how I've been dying to talk to you.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
you have no idea. So, since I heard you probably in 2020 on Guru Jagat's reality riffing,
hmm
I felt aligned immediately. So I got a copy of the book, and I did a deep dive. Then I got it on Audible. And what I realized was if I didn't listen to it on a daily basis,
Oh, yeah.
I would sort of lose my fire or lose my way. So what I've done
Yep.
is I've paired my Kundalini teachings with reality transurfing, which is basically my Bible. And I'll do a chapter or half a chapter every day just to keep me finely tuned.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When people take coaching with me, I have lots of different little formulas that I give people, but one of the just constants with every single person that comes to me, it's either read a little bit every day or have the audio on in the background. Because as soon as you become disconnected from it, that old programming just claws its way back in, takes back over, and those rose-colored lenses that you've been wearing with reality transurfing, they just come right off, just get ripped right off.
So,
But if you stay connected to it, then it's like a new filter that you just keep sort of refreshing over
and you
your
need
over your
to, it's
sight.
like any practice, you really do need to do it on a consistent basis for it to work.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
Um, so I want to touch a little bit on your history because I know you went through your own dark night of the soul. And when we talk about
Multiple.
and when we talk about these transformational practices, I think it's really valuable to see where somebody came from to where they are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's an interesting, like the whole genesis of my transformation, if you want to call it that. Have you ever read the book The
Oh,
Alchemist?
of course.
So that's kind of my story, is like I was born into lower means. The last grade of school I attended was eighth grade. I launched into the world very, very young and with no skills, no, no, there was nothing within me that would have like anybody could have predicted any sort of success in my life. But just clawing my way to the top in Los Angeles, I was able to make a name for myself in, a pretty cutthroat industry. I lived, the lifestyle of the rich and famous. I mean, I was by all means rising to the standards of the Matrix. But compromised in massive ways that, just I couldn't settle. There was no amount of cool experiences, money, lifestyle upgrades, all that stuff. I just couldn't figure out a way to settle my soul. And that was kind of like the first dark night of the soul. And then I found transurfing. And with transurfing, I kind of did a hybrid of that LA version of me and where I am now. I tried to have some, spiritual context for my movements in life. I started endeavors that fed my soul a little more, but I was still kind of running on this like hustle and grind energy and still building this thing for myself. And, it was better, but it still wasn't like as tuned or optimized as a couple
Right.
more dark nights of the soul eventually led me to. And the biggest one that was the most recent was I went on a wild transurfing adventure. I moved to a post-Soviet country. I dove headfirst into buying and selling real estate and renovating properties. I bought a big, beautiful house myself and started writing my books. And, I felt like that was sort of the life for me, like the onset of it. And through a series of experiences, I realized that, like in the story, The Alchemist, The treasure map was actually leading me to a place that I had grown up. And since returning back to the US a couple years ago, I'm just I'm stripping away all the worldly stuff. I mean, I'm dialing it down to the basics in life. I've gotten super spiritual. I am still creative, but my life is much more simple. Um, I'm just I don't even know how to describe it. I'm present every day. I'm doing things that cost no money. My soul is entirely nurtured. And it's so interesting that like when I was in Los Angeles and I was living this life where I was just constantly striving for more things, and it seemed like the more I got, the more the bigger the desire got for
Of
them.
course.
It was
Yeah.
this never ending, like, this maw of the Matrix just always chomping at me. And the more I was able to, do for myself, the more in my poverty mindset I seemed to, sink, and this kind of cloud of desperation. Well, wait a second. I thought if I could make this name and have these experiences, then I would feel fulfilled. And it's actually now sort of led me in this big, huge roundabout adventure back to where I started. And now I have to say, I feel the wealthiest I've ever felt in my life. And I feel free and sovereign and whole and embraced by my reality and God. And it's just been like a wild fucking
Right. So
ride.
in striving for the abundance, you realize that it's not what you thought it was. The abundance again comes with the journey. It's about the journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cliche, right? I mean,
I guess they're
we're
cliches for a reason, right?
yeah,
We're not rewriting anything.
exactly. We're not rewriting anything. And sort of like having these, multiple, kind of on on time dark nights of the soul every 5 years from my awakening, when I was just like, okay, this isn't it. This isn't it. What am I gonna do? I just I think it's the standards of society that just layer this programming on us to the extent where it's so thick we just don't
It's
even question it at a certain point. It's become embedded in us. And I'm a realist, and I don't want to lead anybody astray. We can't have these profound moments of awakening, these epic, like, oh my God, this isn't it. I'm going to make some changes. But to really commit to the removal of that programming is, in my opinion, a lifelong commitment. You have to stay connected to that. And reality transurfing is it's the formula, it's the laws, it's
I
the
agree.
yeah.
Well, first of all, you have to see it. So you
Yes.
have to become aware of it. And
Yeah.
I think that that's the first step.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna get into those steps, but I do want to say I think that these dark nights are our growth spurts. And
Oh
so
yeah.
we're in our human incarnation. There is nothing wrong. Like to sit here and pretend that we don't need to do the work because we've perfected it would be ridiculous. And nobody would
Oh
believe us and we wouldn't be teachers. I mean,
yeah.
what makes what we say valuable is that we go through it. And we go through it on a daily basis. And
Hmm.
to pretend that life isn't complicated or difficult would be absurd. So what
Yeah.
I love most about this book is, I can it's analogous to so many spiritual teachings and very much in a lot of ways like Buddhism, except for Buddhism tells you to relinquish these desires and these attachments. What reality transurfing does is help you navigate them. And I think that's a much more valuable tool because we cannot isolate in a bubble. We have to live in this world, and we're caught up in pendulums every day. Everything is a pendulum.
Yeah.
And so
Hmm.
let's go give a little bit of a definition of maybe pendulums, alternative spaces, Inner and outer intention. That one. Look, these are not. They're all complex.
Yeah.
They're
Yes,
all
they are.
complex.
Yeah, they
So
are.
let's give our audience a little bit of a tutorial on pendulums. Yeah, take it away. You're the
Okay,
teacher.
so I'm actually going, since you prefaced your question with talking about reality transurfing helping you to navigate your desires. Where I'm going to actually kick this off from
Okay, great.
is the soul frail, right? The soul frail.
Yes,
So the soul frail is like without all that programming on you, it's your code of who you are as a human being without external influences from pendulums, which are, these entities, energetic entities that exist via and are fueled via human attention, media, social
energy, right.
media, politics, um, you know,
Education,
education, professional realms, family dynamics, materialism, all
religion,
religions, everything, right? So we're born into this world. If you want to look at it like a clean slate, or if you believe in reincarnation, that it can go either way. But like you're born into this world without that influence yet, right? And then as you move through your life, your external environment begins to influence you. The people that have found meaningful success, I'm not just talking about striving for, Andrew Tate level, I got the Bugatti and that sort of thing, but meaningful success, people that you can see in your life that are killing it. They're healthy, they love what they do. It's probably it has something to do with helping people in some type of way, or some sort of they're doing something that nourishes something outside of them. And they're maybe not happy all the time, but they're content and their life's not chaos. And let's say from like a like an aesthetic or place of like charisma, or how the person is perceived by others in their life. They may not be the most attractive person, but they're interesting. It could be somebody that's just got that je ne
a
sais quoi.
dynamic
Yeah,
quality, X
exactly.
factor, right?
Exactly. So you've got this type of person that are magnetic and you can see them and you're like, well, what does that person have? Well, what they've got is they are tuned to the frail of their soul. They've managed to dial themselves in professionally, dial themselves in with how they express themselves to the world, dial themselves in with, their hobbies and all that kind of stuff. And they're tuned to the frail of their soul. Now, the interesting thing that happens is when you're able to manage the pendulums in your life and not just get taken on their ride, the political ride, the endless doom scrolling, the, striving for your parents' standards professionally, or because your environment wants you to do something, or your spouse, right? Becoming under the influence of something other than your soul frail, that's going to lead you astray to a reality that's not intended for you. That's why you feel like something's off, right? When you're tuned to the frail of your soul, there is a frequency that happens from you that just naturally attracts all the things that are intended for you. And that's contentment, right? That's you
Yeah,
finding
in the
your
wave of fortune, and yeah,
yeah, that's you finding yourself like right now, I am tuned to the frail of my soul, right? It's taken me 10 years of working on it. But if you were to come here and you were to see my life, you'd be like, oh, that's really interesting, that she's living like that. What a peculiar but very comfortable way to live. And oh, look at all the people around her are happy and enjoy her being around, and she doesn't have to, operate in that always striving for stuff, right? It's kind of like you just settle into a version of reality that's comfortable, cozy, supports you, supports whatever it is you're doing, your creativity, your whatever it is that you get off on. And it's easy, right?
So I'm going to stop you there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once you get there, it's easy. What is the track? Now, we can talk about alternative space and inner and outer intention, but you said when you're there, there's an ease.
Yes.
Right? I think Vadim talks a lot about sort of regulating your system and understanding your system, right? Right?
Yeah.
Knowing when your heart and your
Yes.
mind are aligned. This is
Absolutely.
key to
Yeah.
the practice.
Yes.
So, how does one get there? Because we talk about really the we talk about an alternative space. How do you jump on to the
Okay.
right alternative space?
Yeah, the right life track. So,
How do you
yeah.
find the right life track?
Okay, yeah. So just for, listeners or viewers that aren't familiar with the term alternative space, it's essentially the
We would call it, in my practice, we'd call it the Akashic record.
right.
We'd call it a space where everything
Yep.
is possible, everything has already happened. You just have to jump onto the right timeline.
Yep. So the quantum field, the universe,
Quantum field.
the Akashic record, whatever it is. So in this space, everything that is, everything that has the potential to be, everything that was, it's where everything comes from, right? Inventions aren't the product of the human mind. The human mind has the ability to access these things in the alternative space and pull them into physical reality, materializing in physical reality, right? So in this alternative space, there are various life tracks, infinite life tracks, and your thoughts, your actions, your frequency, and also your guiding theory on where it is you want to go or what it is that you're doing. These are the things that will help you to materialize that version of reality, right? So if you're, let's just fantasy scenario here. Let's say I'm where I was before I happened to find some success in my life. I was drowning in debt. I had no way of making money. My rent was due. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was lost. I had no passions. I had no goals, right? So if my guiding theory is, woe is me, this is my life, I'm never going to be anything more than this, then my thoughts are going to be on the same frequency as that guiding theory, right? Oh gosh, this is another day. Blah, blah, I hate myself. My actions are going to align, and my frequency is going to be just that lower frequency. Now, if I change my guiding theory and I'm like, okay, what I got right now really fucking sucks. It's bad. But I know that there is a version of reality where I don't have this debt. I've got some meaningful way of making money and an income, blah, 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 blah. And I believe in this theory, right? Then making certain that my thoughts, actions, and frequency line up to that theory, then you start to pull that into physical reality.
How do you do that without creating inner intention, without letting outer intention collapse on itself and become inner intention? Because when you're pressing or when you're focusing so hard on something or you're trying so hard to consciously align heart and mind, then you're actually coming from a place of inner intention, not outer intention.
So this is where
It's complicated.
it's you know it can be complicated.
I mean, it's actually right. I see. It's actually simple, but to attune yourself,
Yeah. So this
takes work.
this is what I tell people that come to me. Like, I have this gal right now, and she's working a job that she doesn't like. She wants to get a certificate in a trade, and it's going to take her a lot of effort to do everything, right? All at once. And she's like, well, where does outer intention come in? Outer intention is essentially the hand of God or universe
Flow.
handing you something or something coming to you with ease, like an opportunity or a windfall with money or something like that. That's outer intention, right? And in transurfing, we try to focus our gaze on outer intention to help us achieve a goal because it's more energetically effective. Inner
And
intention,
efficient.
inner intention is us using our will, ego, striving, hustling, grinding, forcing, pulling, negotiating, all that kind of stuff. So when somebody comes to me and they're like, "Hey, Renee, I want to do this thing, and it's big, it's lofty. What do I do?" And I'm like, "Do A, B, C, and D," and I give them the formula, right? And they're like, "Well, gosh, that sounds like a lot of inner intention," and I'm like, it's okay to use inner intention to get something off the ground. A lot of people, in my opinion, in the spiritual, especially the manifestation space, are doing themselves a massive disservice by waiting
By
for
just sitting and
inspiration.
meditating.
Huh?
Just sitting and meditating and
Sitting
hoping
and
something
meditating,
happens.
waiting for inspiration, waiting for something to fucking drop out of the sky into their lap.
Agree with you completely.
Yeah, and
Completely.
sometimes you have to initiate that spark to get the thing going. The idea is, however, if it's truly for you, right? Let's say my endeavors with my jewelry business or my book writing or whatever it is, right? If it's truly intended for me, yeah, I can make that first little push. But as soon as my world sees, ooh, that person's interesting and what they're doing is interesting and there's something there, I'm going to either buy it or engage with it in some way or help her algorithm out or so then your energetic effort at the onset, that initial investment, it starts snowballing. It's like it's rolling on its own, and people are interested, and they're going to then pump the energy into the thing, right? It's usually
Right.
inner intention is absolutely the wrong move when you have to use inner intention because the thing isn't really for you. So you have to put a lot of effort into it. You have to push, force, do it really hard, and then nobody's buying it because it wasn't really a good idea to begin with. And then your answer to that is to push and force more because
Right. Even if it was a good idea, it may not be the idea that was meant for you.
exactly. Yeah, it makes
Somebody else will pick it. Right. It
very,
just may not have
very
been
good
meant for
point.
you.
Very good point. Yes. So we all have our specialties, right? And it's about you finding what your specialty is. And I'm not just talking about professional endeavors. I'm just talking about your specialty in the arena of life, right? What's going to make you look like, and this is where, Vadim Zealand, he gets into this whole like, a lot of people are just copying each other. They're just mimicking. They're seeing these standards, they're attempting to rise to these standards, and they're just mimicking. Whereas for me, and I think this is why I've become sort of this mouthpiece for reality transurfing, kind of by accident, is that somehow I've always sort of been in that space where I'm doing my own thing. I'm going against the trend, not intentionally,
Right.
but just because I'm tuned into who I am. And it kind of doesn't matter what venue I enter, what professional, arena I enter. People are like, that's an interesting person. She's doing something different.
I agree with you completely. I think the way I would phrase that is that we're both outliers and comfortable in that space.
Yes.
We really know who we are and we don't follow the fold.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's a comfortable and natural
Oh, yeah.
state.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a gift, by the way.
It is
That's a
it is a
gift.
gift. It does take a little bit, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There have been times in my life where I'm like, I'm like, holy fuck, what am I doing right now? I don't know anyone that's done anything like this. I have no blueprint. I have no friend that there's no phone a friend, oh, hey, I'm in, post-Soviet, Republic of Georgia with crazy real estate deals and political tumult and all this stuff.
And gangsters,
Huh?
lots of
Lots of
gangsters.
gangsters, yeah, and I'm like,
Lots
yeah,
of gangsters.
finding myself in these very interesting sectors of reality, operating as the outlier. And, there are moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, am I in over my head? And I will admit there have been times with reality transurfing, that was one of them, but there have been many times where I've gotten in a little bit over my head. But
Well, I think that's the nature of the beast within us.
And it's the
Like
nature of reality
there,
transurfing, right? You're venturing in.
right, but also there are those of us who seek those
Yes.
moments more than others. Like some people like a safe space, and some people get really uncomfortable when they're too safe for too
Yeah.
long. So they do something. Right? I mean that's who I am. I mean, I like to be thrown off balance because I like to find myself. I like to get myself back on balance, and that's also something that I need to work on because it's nice at a certain point in your life to have the consistency of balance and not chasing the excitement or the adrenaline.
So it's interesting that you say that. And this has been part of my teachings for the last couple of years since I've returned back to the US. I'm all about that balance now. I have no more, right now at this point, I've got no more.
Battle fatigue. You
Yeah,
have enough
no
battle fatigue.
interest, no interest. I've traveled the world. I've lived in various different places. And I am all about, like, if you could see the view out of my window right now, it's, beautiful Pacific Northwest, springtime. I've got hikes, multiple trailheads within, 5 minutes.
Are you in
I'm in
Washington or
Oregon.
Oregon?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
it's
fabulous.
incredible. And, I finally settled into the version of reality that's truly intended for me. But one of the, and I've had people ask me this question periodically through my, transurfing coaching endeavor, whatever you want to call it. Are there downsides to reality transurfing? And this is not something that you would read in Vadim's book. This is only something, and transurfing is relatively new, right? The first book started coming out in
Yeah,
2008. It's not an old. Yeah,
it's new
it's a new
philosophy.
philosophy, even though, like you said, it's pulled from a lot of different things, especially Tibetan Buddhism. There's a lot of Tibetan Buddhism in there. There's a lot of esoteric arts. There's, just it's a grab bag of stuff that you'll be like, okay, this is kind of, from here and there and blah blah blah. But it's relatively new, so you don't have a bunch of people that are like, here's my 20-year experience with transurfing. I'm kind of like the one that
You're
I'm
the
the
OG.
OG, right? And even just 10 years now, it's been a hardcore 10 years, and I've learned many, many things about working with this knowledge in real time. But the downside of it that I have found, and this could just be my experience because I am a sensitive person, um,
Let me hear it. I want to give you my
so
yeah.
I believe that when you're powerful, right? When you're a really truly powerful person and you have the ability, which I do, to jump into foreign novel sectors like I have consistently throughout my life, but also, with this knowledge intentionally the last 10 years. Um, I have been able to make crazy moves in my life, start businesses, move, buy houses, buy, just get, go crazy, right? Form new identities, start big, huge projects. This can be very, very hard on the nervous system, right? This is not a calming modality. Now, if you want, it's just like the Bible. if you want to search out the pieces that are going to be calming and focus on those, you can use it to calm yourself. But the whole of the knowledge is presenting to us this idea that if you want a version of reality, no matter how foreign, how obscure, how bizarre, how outlandish you can have it, I have experienced that, but at a cost to my nervous system, a great cost to my nervous system, because doing the things that I've done, constantly throwing myself into new environments, hitting the ground running, performing, figuring out the variables and what I need to do to rise to success quickly, even using outer intention, even using the flow. I mean, even if you're a sailor out on open waters and your sails are fully cast and the wind's at your back and you're just jamming, your adrenaline's still going, right? Even if you've got the force of the world behind you, your adrenaline's still going. And I did it for so long and I made so many rapid changes that I was just kind of like flying around sectors of reality. And when I finally sort of came to, I was like, wow, that was a wild ride. That was super fun. But my nerves are fucking shot now and I need to rest? So now that's where I am now. I'm in my rest mode.
Right. And that's why I say to you, I work two practices together. So my meditation and my Kundalini helps with calming the nervous system. But one thing that my teacher Yogi Bhajan would say is imagine how much worse off your nervous system would be without the
Oh,
practice. So he can't change, like, it's not about changing who you are and what your journey is meant to be. If that's who you are and you crave these new experiences, you crave an exciting life, that's embedded in
yeah.
your DNA. And I don't think anybody would want to quash that because you would never be where you are today.
Yes, I hear what you're saying. What you're implying is that my experience was a part of my soul frail, right? And it was the
Yeah.
expression of my soul frail, which absolutely, I believe is true. That being said, you know, there comes a point where I don't want to say, okay, getting back to what you said about pendulums, there's pendulums everywhere,
Yeah.
right? Ev
Everywhere.
Everything's a
Everything is a
pendulum,
pendulum.
including ourselves, right? We are our own kind of pendulum because we're gonna,
You mean our belief system, sort of the belief system that we've developed over the course of our
or
lives, comparison and things
yeah,
of this
but just
nature.
trying to any type of goal, right? If you have a
Any
goal,
goal.
if you
Yeah.
have you want to see yourself in a particular financial standing, if you want to whatever your mind is running on, you're pumping that that process with your attention and your energy. And the thing with pendulums, I say, is this, because like at the very beginning of reality transurfing, I had a lot of people that kind of viewed pendulums as bad, right? They were like blanket, like, oh no, pendulum, pendulum. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Pendulums are neutral entities. We're the ones that assign that energetic value. If it's so the
Right.
the analogy that I use is this. If you take something like a major news outlet, let's say CNN, and somebody is addicted to tuning into CNN and they're just watching it all day, every day, and they're not getting anything from that exchange, right? They're just sitting there channeling their attention, their energy, their focus, their time, their non-renewable resources into this pendulum, CNN, and they're not getting anything back for themselves. This is the pendulum being bad, right? Because it's essentially stealing that person's life, giving them a false sense of something. But when you look at what they actually got from it, it's not much. Yeah,
There's nothing there.
it's illusion, right? Now, you see somebody in reality that's like, I want to be a photojournalist and go to like, places that are going through some wild thing internationally. And I want to go and I want to get the shots, right? And I'm going to sell my stuff to CNN. This is a different relationship with that pendulum that suits that person. They're getting something to show for it, right? Rather than
Because it's more of a
it's
goal.
more of
It's
a
more of
goal.
a
They're
goal.
using that pendulum to satisfy something for their life rather than being used
Right.
by the pendulum,
Correct.
right?
Very well
Yeah.
said.
So
Very
so
well said.
sometimes we have an energetic exchange where we don't get much in return. Sometimes we know how to negotiate a better deal with the pendulum so we get more in return. And it's kind of like this with ourselves as the pendulum. If we're going to burn our energy, our attention, our thoughts, our all our stuff, what are you going to what at the end of that, the ideal is that we've got a nice, comfortable life where we feel satisfied, our nervous system's calm, we have the things around us that bring us joy and comfort, and but sometimes we can do that, and I'll admit I've done that to myself, where I burn all those resources trying to do something, and then I get to the goal being accomplished, and I'm like, bleh.
Yeah, it's empty. I think fear is the all-encompassing pendulum, and I think like most negative pendulums, I think one identifier for sure is if there's any sort of agita or
Yes.
anxiety within. But again, you have to be super in
Yeah.
tune to yourself to know like that is not sitting where I
Yes.
need it to be sitting. There's a little tug inside that lets you know. So it's again, it's way easier to know, identify something negative in one's life than it is positive. And that's why it's very hard to jump in and out of pendulums. I mean, it takes discipline. It takes again awareness, knowing that you're actually caught up in one. I think comparison in this day and age
Oh,
is
massive.
huge. That is one of
Yeah.
the worst. It is one of the most anxiety causing. Their life is great.
Yeah.
Mine is empty. Mine is vapid. I don't
Yeah.
have a purpose. These are all this is exactly the opposite. We have to be focused on abundance,
Yeah.
not lack thereof.
Yeah.
And again, jumping into that timeline is something that we all need to learn. How would you suggest to the followers of this podcast that they learn how to jump in and out of timelines, mostly in, because what we'd like to do is catch yourself in a nice timeline.
So there's a couple of the I'll I'll hit this from two different angles. The first angle is turning the attention and your attention and your focus inward and really starting to ask yourself, is this thing for me? And it's so simple. And I'm talking about the present variables in your life. Because, like these insects that will like put a little numbing agent on before it stings you so you don't feel it. Is it a
Mosquitoes?
mosquito that does that? Um,
Mosquitoes do that.
so this is kind of what happens with our lives, right? We get sort of these like numbing agents that will give you a little bit of satisfaction, kind of lull you to sleep. Like the classic ones are, the high paying job or the relationship may be comfortable but not satisfying, right? And so
Yep.
this is like the numbing agent where you get lulled to sleep and you're like, okay, this is good enough, I guess, you know?
Because you
Yeah.
can stop working. I mean,
Yeah.
not a job. I mean, you can
Yeah.
stop working.
You're settling, right? You're settling for
You're
something.
settling, but the bleeding
Yeah, the
feels like it
bleeding feels like it
stops.
stops, yet there's that subtle gnawing feeling.
Of course, and you know in your gut, if you're in
Yes.
tune to yourself,
Yes,
that
that you're
you're
settling
settling.
or that the thing's not for you. So, yeah,
That's
so
night ride for
this
you.
is the hard. I used to actually, I don't do it anymore, but at the beginning when I coached people, I would have them sign a waiver, right? Because I would say, if you change something about your life financially, quit a job, file for divorce, like I can't be held accountable for whatever, like because that's what would happen with people. Like suddenly,
Right. It's like when you do psychedelics, you suddenly feel
yeah,
this surge, this
oh
refreshing
yeah,
surge of, oh my God, I'm free,
totally,
I'm
totally.
liberated. Let me forget fighting my ex. Let me forget every
Oh,
lawsuit. Let me just
totally,
yeah
totally.
spend every
And I
last
could I
dollar
could
I
see
have.
it happening in people's eyes and their faces where I could see them offloading their stuff in front of me. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to end this." And I'd be like, "Well, let's just slow it down, right?" Because even Vadim gives caution in the book to not just burn it all down because it kind of if you
Yes.
go hard into transurfing knowledge, and this is really what I did, I burned things down multiple times just because I was like, fuck it. This ain't for me. Time to reverse out of this life track, burn it all down. So, but if you one of the things that I tell people is that the two things holding people back the most from shifting realities are addictions and other people, right? Those are the two tethers. The addiction keeps us maintaining a frequency that maintains a status quo that is probably pretty shitty, right?
When you say addiction, are you referring to anything? Addiction to things, or are we talking drugs and alcohol? Or are you saying addiction to a lifestyle, addiction to a
So
person?
it's
Is it
all
all encompassing?
encompassing, but if you are addicted to alcohol, drugs, dysfunctional relationships, drama, let's say overspending on credit or something like that, like something
Got it.
really
Okay,
destructive, those are
I
the
got you.
primary ones, right? But then also lifestyle, yeah. So
I got you.
the addiction is kind of like our coping vent for that feeling that something's not right. We don't know what to do with it, so we go to the addiction to soothe that feeling, right? To try to numb that feeling out. But what happens is we just maintain a resonant frequency that doesn't, there's no chance for us to really shift in there. And if we can figure out a way to shift, we'll usually just revert back. This is self-sabotage because that frequency, maintaining that frequency with that coping vent, the addiction, it's a vicious cycle. And most people just kind of stay resonating there for a long time until they give up the addiction, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is people. So people, it's kind of similar. It's like you have your frequency, you have your soul frail, you have the things that are intended for you. But then if you have people around you that are out of alignment, that frequency is one, gonna fuck with your frequency. And two, those people aren't gonna want to see you evolve and optimize your frequency. This is classic, like, people that want to bring you down as soon as you start to feel like you're doing better or you're going somewhere or you're going to change something. Oh, are you too good for us now?
That's
Yeah,
why we lose friends as we lose
exactly.
friends as we
Exactly.
evolve.
I mean,
It can be a
Oh,
very
yep.
lonely place, this
Transurfing,
journey.
there's a lot of lonely hearts in transurfing because when you wake up to that level and you're making those changes and you're becoming aware of your frequency and your powers, man, I mean, I firsthand know that's going to piss a lot of people off. You know, when you are doing that, that frequency, even though it's optimized and it's high, it's going to become an agitator to the people in your life that are maintaining their they're stuck, you know, and they don't want to see you become unstuck.
No, and dark can exist where
Exactly.
there's light.
They don't
So
want
they
the
don't
light.
want
They
the
don't
light.
want the light. So, getting back to your question, the first part of my answer is you got to address the addictions and you got to address the people that are keeping you there. And that's where it gets a little tricky because somebody will say to me, "Oh, well, what does that mean? I have to divorce my husband that I've been with for 25 years?" And it's like, "No, you don't have to, but you also don't get to have it both ways." Right? If you want a new reality for yourself,
Hmm.
you either have to accept your relationship and use that as your jumping off point to higher and better realities within the relationship. Right? Within the relationship, you take control of your sovereignty within the relationship and you use that relationship for whatever it's good for, the comfort, the financial support, the whatever. But maybe he's not your spiritual partner. Maybe he doesn't give a shit about reality transurfing. So does that mean that you have to scrap the whole thing? Not necessarily, but you got to be okay with it. The thing that most people do, which is the automatic no-no for switching life tracks, is they want something new, but they don't want to make the change and they straddle the line and they remain,
Hmm.
discontent, have animosity, don't want to let the thing go and fully jump into the new life. Right. But they don't want to let go. They don't want to, it's like you get yourself into this place where it's like, and that's where a lot of people exist. A lot of people. Yeah. A lot
I
of people
think
are in
that
that place.
that's true. I believe that that's true. Most of us know what the right path forward is, but are feel
Exactly.
unable to take it.
Exactly.
You know, and a lot of that, and he does address finances, but I think it's the thing that's not addressed satisfactorily
So this
enough.
is really interesting. Like, go ahead.
It's, I mean, I get his I mean, I know what he says is basically that you
Yeah.
can't make money the goal. You have to find what you love and then money will come to you. But I think a majority of people on this planet are
Oh,
stressed out financially. It is, love, finances are some of the
oh
biggest
yeah.
holes in people's
Love and
existence right
money.
now. It's dark. And I wish that he would have given us a little bit more of a roadmap on
Well,
how to
I
handle
know
that.
personally, not to like, throw shade at Vadim or anything, but he's not a man of great means. He's a yeah,
Right. He's a
he's a
philosopher.
humble
He's a
little,
philosopher.
old, Soviet mystical guy. He doesn't give a shit. He
Yeah.
makes his little royalties off his books. He lives on a little coastal town, couple, hours flight from St. Petersburg. He has a quiet life and
Right. He likes
yeah,
outdoors. I mean, nature
and
is
he
his thing.
doesn't
He's clear on that.
and I have to admit that's where I've gotten myself.
I am too, but you still can't take out the financial factor because even to own that coastal farm or even to just have your kids to be taken care of, that financial piece
So
is a part of the
it
puzzle.
it is and it isn't because like I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Um it all
Like I get the rustle of the morning stars, believe me, I get it.
it
And that's where I'm at now. But I've already had my two kids. They're out of the house. Like they're young people now that struggle on the
so one
daily.
of the things that I've managed to do for myself is to really understand what it is that I need to feel comfortable.
Well, he goes into that too.
Yeah,
What do you
what
need
do I
versus what do you
need?
want?
And I think a lot of people would be somewhat surprised if they could see the highlight reel of my life. You saying there's people struggling. There are people struggling, but I believe that struggle deepens when you're overly connected to the standards of the world.
It all comes down to alignment, but not everyone is there. And the stress factor, I personally, for me, reality transurfing actually does calm my nervous system,
That's awesome.
which is why I listen to it every day. Every day, if I'm in a comparative mode, or if I'm feeling like a have not, feeling in that space of sorry for myself, or feeling I don't have much purpose right now, there are so many
Oh,
switches that I can turn on in
endless,
that
right?
book, and
Oh, yeah.
I'm fine for the day. I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning with incredible anxiety attacks,
Yeah.
and I couldn't regulate. What I learned to do is I turn on the audio, which
Yeah.
is
Which one are
very
you talking
sedative to
about?
begin with. I mean, whoa, that thing. I listen to the one that's
Uh-huh.
it's an automated
Yeah.
voice. It's really crazy, and it's
Yeah,
got that
yeah.
kind of
Are
spooky
you talking
music
about
in
the
the
space of
background.
variations,
Oh
the
no,
first one? 1 through 5.
no, I'm talking
Interesting.
about one through
Yeah.
five.
Oh, I'm right there with you. I mean, I turn that on and it's like an instant tuning, It's like,
It's like, what have I?
yeah.
How can I forget so quickly?
Oh
Like, oh
yeah.
my
Yep.
God, stay on top of this. Stay on top of it. And I'm in the middle of doing a deep dive into the mirrors, and I just, mirrors are like self love. It's one of those concepts that you hear over and over again, but it's really hard to practice and to understand when you sing it
Yeah.
because everything's backwards, right? It's a mirror, so it's backwards. So you hear it and you know what they're trying to say. But this deep dive has been so inspirational, and I've seen how so many of these turning points in my life have been
Yeah. Oh yeah.
mirror images, and it's just so fascinating. I'm not a great visualizer, so the slides are complicated for me, which is unfortunate because that's
Yeah,
really
it's
the
common though. A lot
manifestation
of people
protocol.
don't really get visualizing or know how to do it or it work a lot of people doesn't work for them.
No, and there are ways.
Yeah.
Look, there are modifications. There's always stuff that you can do. You can put up one of those image. What are
Yeah.
they called?
Like a
Boards.
dream not a
Forgot what they're.
dream board. Vision board. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
dream board. Some anyway. They're vision boards. There are other ways that you can work with it, and Joe Dispenza offers some of those as well. So look, everything can use modification in this, but I think
Yeah. It
it's
is
brilliant.
brilliant.
I just think it's brilliant. It really helps you understand where
Oh,
you are
totally.
in your life and why, and that right. It just
Yeah,
takes a
it
lot of the
definitely
pressure
brings things
off.
into focus.
It
You're
takes
like,
so
"Oh,
much pressure.
I mean, when I found transurfing after I had, this massive nervous breakdown, left Los Angeles after living there for 15 years and everything I went through there. Um, I came up here to the Pacific Northwest, found transurfing, and I'm listening to it and I'm like, "Holy fuck." It just
It's a mind
all of
boggle.
a sudden everything became so clear of why it happened, what I did, my reactions, where I
Yep.
succumbed to pendulums and standards. And I mean, the whole thing just blew my mind. Oh, oh,
It blows everything open. It's like the Maya opens, the curtain
yeah. Oh,
opens, and
yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
holy
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
It's really
Oh,
a what
totally.
the a WTF moment, and you're like, this is unbelievable.
Yep,
And once
totally.
you see
So,
it, you can't unsee it. You can fall prey to it,
yeah.
but the
Oh, yeah.
pendulums and whatnot, but you
Yeah,
can't
oh
unsee it.
totally,
All you need
totally.
is that
And that's
reminder.
going to get me to when you asked me, what can people do to shift life tracks? And I said, you got to start stripping away what isn't for you and really opening your eyes to what is for you, and having that fearlessness to unload what's not for you and start going after the things that are for you. So that's kind of the self based version of what a person can do. That's
Yeah.
it.
And that takes a step.
That's a
That's a
huge
big
step.
step
The
in
second
commitment to doing
thing,
the work.
from a more external standpoint, and using the transurfing knowledge to help you build a new paradigm, is that this is how I explain it to people. So imagine you're in a hole, right? You're in a hole and you want to build a house. What do you need to do? The first thing that you need to do is you need to get out of the hole, right? Then you need to fill the hole with dirt. Then you need to lay a foundation down, right? So this is the first half of the knowledge. If you're in a hole, you got pendulums ripping your face off, right? You're using inner intention. You are confused about who you are. You are lost in the alternative space. All the negative kind of things that have brought you to this place where you feel like you're in a hole. The first part of the steps 1 through 5 book is going to get you up out of that hole, fill the hole with dirt, lay the foundation down. The second part of the book is going to help you build that new house. That's your new paradigm. This is you using the alternatives flow, which is going with reality instead of fighting it. Outer intention. This is things being offered to you by your environment, which is, by the way, happening all the time, but we don't see that because we're down in our hole, succumb to all this other stuff. So it's like we've got blinders on and we can't see the stuff. As soon as the blinders come off, you're like, oh shit, that was easy. Oh, there's assistance in this area. Well, I'll take that. Oh, this is going to be a breeze. So then that sort of stuff starts happening. Learning to tune to the frail of your soul, understanding concepts like the mirror world, how you can heavily influence reality by what you're putting out into it. And this is how you get that new paradigm built, that new profession, that new life track, that new experience, new freedom, new version of you, whatever. So it's like a 1-2 punch, and
Yeah. And every decision can set you, the smallest decision can set you into a new timeline. For example, someone invites you out to
oh
dinner.
yeah.
Instead of staying home, accept that invitation because
Are
that
you are
invitation is
you
going to
tuning
take you
into
down
our
another
anomalous action
path.
challenge right
Yeah.
now? Oh, well, I could have swore that you
No.
were just because of what you said just now. We have this thing that we do annually, and we're in the first week. We started on April 1st. It's called the Anomalous Action Challenge, and
Oh,
essentially what it is for 30 days consecutively. Each day you take at least one action that's outside of your normal realm of activities, exiting your comfort zone, something that's anomalous,
exactly.
unpredictable, whatever, and you saying, accepting that invitation. So what happens is we kind of like we dig ourselves into these reality ruts where we're just doing the same things every day. We're, wishing for different outcomes yet not doing anything different. Yeah, and as soon as you start to train what I
Exactly.
call your action muscle, you begin to take actions that are unique and different. And even if they don't necessarily mean anything or change your life in any profound way, when outer intention brings you that thing that will, you're not going to just freeze. You've trained you you train that action
You
muscle, so
have to
you're like,
take it.
okay,
You
I'll
have
move on
to.
this now. And that's pretty much like when people are like, how do you do all this crazy shit that you do? I'm like, anomalous action. I have no fear whatsoever of taking anomalous actions. You could tell me right now a plane is going to pick you up and you're going to drop out of the plane into some wherever place, and then you got to go and do this thing and do like, and I would be like, let's go do it, like, no, no fear.
Yeah, me too. I think other sage advice that I think he gives people who are on the precipice of that turning point, because fear stops so many of us. Like, what if? The what if factor.
Yeah.
What if it
Oh,
doesn't work
yeah.
out? What if I quit my job? Now, again, he
Yeah.
does say don't quit your job till you have something else lined up. Again, good advice. This is where your contract comes in. Like, don't quit your job until you have something lined up. But instead of facing that fear, just the one step. Like, don't worry if you're going to start an Instagram account, whether people are going to judge you.
Yeah.
Just take the step, do it. Don't think about the outcomes. Outcomes
Oh,
are a
totally. And not
dangerous
only,
place to
yeah,
live.
outcomes, but not only
They're
outcomes,
just
just starting. And like, I just started a new Instagram feed yesterday. I've got like 10 of them for various things that I do. But one of my
meanwhile, you were hard to find. That's surprising because Haley and I, my
oh,
assistant and I,
really?
looked for you
That's
and could
weird.
not
Usually
find you.
I'm
It took
just
a
reality
while.
transurfing Renee and I pop right up. Um,
Well, we got
So
you.
I
That's all I
decided
know.
one
We
of my
found you.
anomalous actions was I was going to finally start an Instagram for my dogs. I've got three dachshunds, including a puppy. And I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna put the dogs on Instagram, start this little thing. And the first couple videos, like they're kind of funny and I think they're cute because they're my dogs, but they kind of suck, right? Because I'm like not that good at editing. I don't know anything about, doing pet reels for Instagram, but I look at them and I'm like, who cares? If you do it for a
I like
year,
them.
if you do one reel a day or one reel a week for a year, at the end of the year, you are going to be doing better reels than when you started, and you will see the
Of
genesis
course.
of your evolution through those, right? But when people first do that first reel, they think, "Oh, I suck at this. I may as well throw in the towel." They don't give themselves typically that grace, that time period to let the thing evolve. So I can look at my few videos and be like, haha, these are funny. They kind of suck. Because I know that if I keep going, they won't suck after a while. And they'll be cool.
And what do they suck? They suck compared
Yes.
to other
That's
people's, and that's the comparison default. And it is. I'm telling you, it is the
totally.
most toxic thing we can bring into our lives
Oh, it
because
really
it
is.
is a
It
lose
really
lose.
is.
It's a zero sum game.
And I think that's where I've
It's a zero sum game.
established some credibility with my transurfing community is I really have just gone against the standards of the people in this space. I say things that people in this space would never say. I've shown parts of my life, angles of myself. I've shown pictures of me crying, videos of me crying. I've
It's so important. It's so important to be a real. If you're
And
really a
yeah, and I'm
teacher,
not
you
trying to
have to
like,
show those
talk shit
sides.
about anybody, but I do see some of these other people there, just showing these certain dimensions, and I'm like, yeah, but is your where's your dirty stuff? Like, what are you, just a fully rounded, well-rounded human being that has no you like essentially they're presenting themselves as not having a shadow. And as soon as I see that, I'm like, I ain't
Of
buying that
course.
one. What are you?
Well, as you know, my community fell apart because of that. There were so many people. You have to be careful of spiritual leaders, teachers, because everyone has
Oh yeah.
cracks. I mean, you
Oh,
don't see
totally.
cracks, something's up. If you don't
Yeah.
see
Oh
cracks
yeah.
in the
I'm
facade,
I'm I
something is up.
I know some things.
Hey, listen, we wouldn't
Yeah.
be here
Oh
having
yeah.
this conversation if
So
we hadn't been through it.
yeah,
That's what got
yeah,
us here.
totally.
And then the need to help. And as we help ourselves. Like,
Yeah.
again, when you help
100%.
others, you're helping
100%.
yourself.
And I think that's also the thing that getting back to, how could I help people to shift life tracks is I feel that the common belief is I will start as soon as I fix myself, as soon as I blah, 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 blah. Right. And really, there is no, it's you just start. You bring your lower self, your higher self chooses the direction and starts walking the path, and you drag your lower self kicking and screaming sometimes. And that's just the bottom line of it. And a lot of people think, oh, I've got to like, fully resolve my lower self and like do all this shadow work. And shadow work is very, very important. And if you ever want to do another podcast, just yeah, so
Oh my, I
yeah,
love you. I
so
do.
shadow work, thank
I
you.
could talk to you for
Shadow
hours.
work, I feel, is the one thing that gets kind of like no real playtime in reality transurfing, yet it's the one thing that absolutely needs to be reconciled in order for transurfing to truly hit in a person's life. They do have to do that shadow work. That's something that I've learned.
When you say reconciled, talk, what do you mean? And it has to be reconciled. You
Yeah,
have to
so I think
have
that
talk to me. What do you mean?
I don't want to go as far as to say that reality transurfing promotes spiritual bypassing, but I believe that I know from my own experience and many things that I've heard of people really going full force with this modality is you can see success while also spiritually bypassing or not addressing the shadow, right? Where you can perform a set of maneuvers in your life and see something materialize and manifest, but and usually this will look like somebody gaining some headway and then succumbing back to addictions or depression or feeling that life's meaningless, right? It's the classic tale of the person making the $1 million and then being like, oh, but I can't get out of bed in the morning, right? It's because that shadow isn't resolved. It's not reconciled. You were just essentially performing a magic trick to get you these things, but they don't really they either get compromised because you haven't done your shadow work, or the shadow's gonna be the overcast skies. You're not going to really
I
enjoy it,
understand. I
right? This
understand.
is why many billionaires unalive themselves, right? This is because the shadow isn't dealt with. It's still there. Yeah. And the cool
It's
thing
still
about
there.
being in transurfing for 10 years and really going deep and hard with it for as long as I have is like I can honestly say now at this point, especially the last few years, I'm fully integrated, right? All the full spectrum from my darkest parts of my shadow, like I've gone there to absolute finding God and like embracing the divine light. I've gone there, right? So it's everything in between. And it's this full spectrum of hues that allows me to now feel like my quiet little landing pad in a small town in an RV. I'm like, I'm fucking good, right? Whereas me striving for all those standards in LA and doing all the things that I was doing to prove myself to somebody somewhere and all this crap, and then arriving there and having the stuff and living the life and all, and just being like, but this doesn't feel good, right? Why? Why doesn't it feel good?
I get it.
Integration. All those wonderful hues from the darkest shadow to the brightest light. You gotta, you gotta do all of it. And it's a commitment. And most people are distracted.
It's definitely a worthy investment in one's time. I can say that. Right. By the way, my producer is yelling at me because how long have we been on?
I know
I
we're
just want to
cooking.
say, you did not disappoint. You did not disappoint. Like I said, I could talk to you for hours. This is Look, I love the philosophy so deeply. I'm so grateful
Yeah.
to it. And I look at you and I see how clear you look. And look, we're all just plugging away and trying
Yeah.
to find our frail, trying to resonate with
Yep.
what is meant to be ours and not somebody else's. I don't care if it's
Yeah.
supposed to be someone else's. Got to focus on self. Um,
Yep.
Talk to me. How do people find you if they want to take this course, if they want to work with you? Or I know you have some videos up on YouTube.
Yeah, I've got over 1,000 videos on Transurfing TV. There's everything from the audio books to the first lesson of all of our courses, so you can kind of see what those are
What's the
about.
name of your course?
Um, well, we're on school, the school platform. We've got a bunch of courses. I believe we have about
Okay.
11 courses now. Everything from transurfing, to shadow work with transurfing, rapid materialization magic, exiting the matrix, the anomalous action challenge. Yeah, there's a lot.
And
Tufty, live stroll through
and
a
you've written your
movie.
own books. You
There.
have
Yep. I've written my own books. I have two out now, two that are out now, that, and then this is split into 3 volumes, but this is my
quantum
book, Quantum
capitalists.
Capitalists. And this is essentially reality transurfing and Tufty, with like a little twist on the verbiage that makes it a little easier to
Right.
understand. And then I have my book of memoirs, Quantum
I
Hillbilly,
love
here.
that. I
So
saw that on. I love Quantum Hillbilly. How good is that?
yeah, and then we have a Facebook group that has almost 15,000 people in there. That's the International Transurfing Institute Facebook group. I'm on Instagram, reality_transurfing. School is Reality Transurfing School. So yeah, you can hit me up if you have any questions about, I mean, but we've got everything from paid stuff to all the free resources on YouTube, questions in the Facebook group. It's a very active Facebook group. So yeah, there's a lot going
Well,
on. We got you covered, whatever you need, you know?
you're a gem, and I do want to do that shadow work with you. So let's
Oh
figure
yeah.
out a time to work on that because that's exciting and it's not something I've done a deep dive into.
Yeah, I can enroll you into school, and you can take a look at the courses, and then the shadow courses at the bottom, and it gives an
That
idea of
sounds
my
great.
philosophy around shadow work and transurfing. Yeah, it's a good combo.
Well, lovely to connect, Renee. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank
Satnam.
you so much for
My
having me.
pleasure.